are really tying together now, and that's why I say you've got a serious advantage here because of what you do have in place now, with what portions of the trails are in and everything. In knowing what you might be thinking in terms of first stage, I know the restrooms were a couple of them, like that one I think was in need. This one was in big need of repairs and upgrades. Some of the sites are complicated, at least. and so there's all of those considerations, but we could work with you now. The application, you just went to the program, so you know that it's April 1st, it's due. You have to public notice it and go through a review to commit to submitting an application. That only requires a 7-day notice as opposed to a 30-day notice for a rec plan change. So that part of it is okay. And so if you're thinking of something, yeah, we may be a half a step behind, but not really. It would be easy to pull a good project together out of this and sort through it and get it in by April 1st.
I had a couple of questions here that I want to clarify. First of all, you're talking upgrading, so every site has water and sewer available, okay. Did you give any consideration to the docks that we put in?
No, because that was kind of a...
Okay, so that's not included. That's all right, because we had actually talked about a couple of different ideas with the docks.
I had mentioned before that it really would be cool to have almost a dock and head-in kind of slips or a U or something that you could get.
In our planning commission, when we were helping design this, we talked about doing like 2 to 4 mini-marinas. Get rid of all the docks.
Consolidation of
it. Consolidation, so because we felt that we were already in violation of how many docks were out there compared with the rest of the system. We were looking at doing these, almost like your open areas where they're strategically placed. I'd call them mini-marinas. Within that. That's where how
docking zones, and a lot of them can just be a finger, a tee, which serves as a fishing, a recreation area, but then they're nosed in, and so you can collect a lot of boats in a hurry and have them in common zones.
But that's not part of anything you've done.
Not in the plan. We didn't take it. We had that discussion. We didn't take it through. Okay, here's where they might be. It would be easy to just extend that fishing pier and make that a boat dock. It doesn't have to have a launch. Just to punch that out. Yeah, we've done a number of floating, fixed.
I just want to clarify whether or not that was in the discussion here. There was a couple other questions I had here. When you were talking about the matches and the grant sizes, okay? So you're saying it's probably a 40% match on a $300,000 project. And then
here you might be able to go down. It's just that's one of those point thresholds that gives you the advantage.
And you didn't think we would qualify for a $500,000?
Oh, I didn't say that.
Okay, all right. Well, because when you said 25% for $500,000.
They don't.
And you're not talking that much more
Grant
money.
That's correct.
I mean, for
their preferred grant amount is $250,000 to $350,000 for the larger ones. And we just got one a year ago that was maximum on trust fund, one of the higher on safe routes to schools, and $600,000 on impact, a blended application, and that's where you can really get the mileage. That was almost $1 million worth of grant money against $138,000 local match.
So we need to put a school in the back?
No, just the front.
Good thought, though. But if you connect to one, it helps.
Gary, do you use use Windsor Dick at all for funding?
Yeah, I work with them a lot. They're one floor above us.
So, I mean, they're into economic development.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
all federal money.
Yeah.
Would this be a candidate for Windsor Dick?
To assist with grant money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know I'm on that board.
No, I didn't know that. Stop it.
Scott, you got a question?
This is kind of an interesting idea because we were successful in doing this whole thing. We have a brand new park, essentially. And we have a brand new park with better accommodations, charging higher rates, I would guess, and we have more sites available, right? Have you done any economic pro formas, like this is what we're doing now, this is what we're charging, new park, extra 40 sites, you know?
We've done some general ones. We haven't done detailed market. I have a market guy.
You know what I'm saying, though?
Oh, yeah.
At the end of this, ideally, the revenues would go up significantly for the campground, perhaps enough to cover our investment.
Very close to it. Yeah, one of the things, just improving the level of use brings that many more people in. But that's where I was saying, you're kind of in that, it's not a full transient and it's not a minor or seasonal. You've got a very high percentage of seasonal users now, which means that's not going to change a lot. But you can change the rates and they'll probably stay there. As I recall, the rates came up a little bit, didn't they?
No, we
After we had that.
the last thing we did is we actually lowered the rates by $100 when we stuck electric on them. Made them pay their own electric bill and dropped it.
Okay, you
But I
put a
think
meter
about
on
the
that.
time that you were doing this, we actually had raised the rates.
Right, yeah, I thought I remembered, and that was incremental. It could have gone up a little bit more again.
Yeah, there was
By
about,
others that we've worked.
you know, you gotta give it to them a little dose.
So could you,
Yeah.
Gary, can you do the trust and Windsor Dick in conjunction, trying to do some grants together? Would that help?
Oh, sure. The stuff we've been doing on Windsor, we're doing the Muskegon Lake, so we do the engineering.
Just millions of dollars.
Yeah, that's the biggest award in the country. And I've been working with them on some other pathway stuff, and your conservation district actually is somebody that's worth talking to. We're doing some reclamation and waterfront improvements with the conservation district right now too. But yeah, if we could help you sort through
You have any other questions?
what.
Yeah, I got one more question for you. I'm gonna put him on the spot here, and he may not have an answer. But if we were gonna come up with a $150,000 match, what parts of this project would you recommend starting?
I would probably look at this front entrance, the front door, the public space a little bit, and try to enhance that a little bit. ADA accessibility, making it, upgrading, maybe one other restroom. But probably the key area would be back to create these new sites, fill in, densify where you've already got the facilities. You know, this is probably still somewhat underutilized.
So that back piece there probably would be the.
For me, that would really make a lot of sense right there. It would change circulation, but part of it is just the rerouting of the road and stuff, and enhancing the common areas and stuff like that. And here, you know, we've got this triple roadway right through here. And to clean some of that up, get those campsites nice and serviceable.
Yeah, but now we have another question. Are you talking paving road or just rerouting it and doing gravel?
You like to pave them if you can, otherwise it's crushed concrete or comparable material.
Anybody else on the board have questions? So, I have a couple for you, Harry. Out of the grants that are out there, I do know there's other grants available for the boat ramps alone,
Waterways.
waterway
And
grant.
like,
Now, will them grants do anything with the seawalls, the waterfront?
you bet.
Okay, so there's other grants. How many, maybe this is a question that'll get answered over time, how many other grants do you believe that's out there that would be applicable to this project?
Not that many. No, there are. These are the principal, you're already working with a foundation and a pathway. That's massive.
Yeah.
We found that the foundations can be significant in getting this kind of work. Waterways Commission, loading, the trails and greenways, the trust fund is a key in all of those. You're already working on a roadway.
Yeah.
I'm going to say you can enhance access to it a little bit. But those are primarily, Land and Water Conservation Fund is federal funds coming through the state. They don't get used that much anymore. They just keep shrinking. At one time, we were doing millions of land and water driveways.
So on this being the whole enchilada, $1 million, if we did the whole project, you were kind of right around the $900,000 area,
Mhm.
$750,000. So out of that, how much money do you think we have to do that whole project?
I would have to take a hard look at, because this would be one of those that you'd want to bundle,
Exactly.
try to minimize, because a lot of them will lean on one another
Yeah.
for match, and try to blend it in a variety of ways to go that number.
Yeah,
To try to do the whole thing, it's going to almost have to be
blended.
some kind of a blended application where you're getting support from a couple of programs.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking also. To do
And they're
that,
tricky.
and to do that, there's not much chance of making April 1. Pretty tough.
You can get it started though. You
Right,
can-
right. I think we have to definitely be in line and take till next April 1 to have this ready to go, but I think we have a little time if we're gonna blend this and do this.
And there's two ways to look at that. One is to take a nice bite, get it in front of them, get the interest going. Because a lot of times, the second or the third is the charm anyway, depending on which year they have the most competition. And so to pick a nice project that looks attractive and puts a focus here that would lean on additional money next year, because a lot of times, if it's a really good project, they like to do pieces rather than whole projects. Because the large projects put a big hurt on their budget, just like you. If you have one big project, all of a sudden, everything else is grant. And so they actually like incremental projects, but they don't necessarily like you to ask for, okay, I'm gonna do 3 years and I want 300, 300, 300. They'll understand that, but they don't like you to ask for it. And so actually, I would recommend sorting through it, picking a really good first project, pique their interest, get them invested in. Because you have to remember that whole cycle, and you just went through this on what that whole money cycle is. Because even when you submit an application, you have to, by resolution, say that you're going to accept it and fund it if it is awarded. And you really don't want to turn one down. You will tend to get blackballed, especially if it gets very far after the turn down. But to take that piece, get them going and get a right project and get it moving. April submission, final review in November. Legislative action until 14. And that could be anywhere depending on how assertive they are. Right after session opens back up in January, and they've gone to fall of that year in the past at times too, that, well, we're just not going to take action on it because of fiscal conditions one way or another. But then you get engineering to do, you get the project going, you execute the document. Execution frequently won't be until end of summer, which would be 14. You may not be spending money until either fall of 14 or more likely in 15. So you can accrue money, and I always tell communities, you know, if you're thinking about doing this, yeah, start doing a set aside so that you know that you've got match money, or will have accumulated match money by the time you've got an award.
Now, one more question, Gary. What will it take, working with you guys and your company, money-wise, to get us ready to go to that grant? Would you have any idea on that?
We're usually on trust fund applications. Everybody's going, well, it's an application. There's a lot of people out there that are saying, hey, we'll do the application for you for free. I'll fill out the forms for free, but I won't do the narrative and all the supplementals and do an ad. Usually a trust fund ad is 30 to 40 pages of documentation, photos, all the stuff that they want, even though it's only a 5-page, 6-page application. The narrative can be, and this would be a good narrative. You want to have a lot of stuff in it. And that could be a 4, 5, 6-page narrative, just on all the reasons this is good. And so we're usually in that 2,500 to 3,500. As I would say, you know, we can get in that 3,000 range. We're probably, we're always crimped, but we're always hopeful we'll be considered if you get a grant. We usually wind up giving 25% of our fee on grant applications. But we like to see communities move forward, and we hope that we're well thought out if they get awarded.
So basically, we're looking around 2,500 to 3,000. Do you think it would take to get us?
Yeah, I know it would be at least that, so, yeah.
Now, will you do that as a committed number? I understand not tonight,
Yeah.
but go back, put numbers together for us, make that as a committed number, not to exceed X amount.
Yeah, I would say that we could work towards 3,000. I know I'm gonna kick ahead of that, but, I would like to see something happen there.
Okay. That's all I have for Eric. Does anybody else have anything else? Gary, I want to tell you, I thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I know it's kind of late dead for quite some time, but hopefully we can revitalize it here.
Well, yeah, we resurrected the plans again.
We found another set of plans, we got to see them.
Good. Yeah, and if you want to go forward, we need to talk sooner than later to sit
Yes.
down and talk about options, prioritization.
Yep. Thank you again for coming. Okay, now I'll